Last Wednesday, Tesla dropped some exciting news about FSD, its development, its deployment, and what's coming in the future. Except this time, it's the not too distant future. It's June. Does this mean internally FSD is solved? Or is it just that close that we can safely assume it will be? We're going to discuss that and so much more with my good buddy John, Dr. Know-It-All himself. He's a well-known and respected person, I guess, on YouTube and X and elsewhere, and also in real life, which is sometimes more important. We're going to discuss FSD, training, and how it works. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futurasa.
Hey, folks.
Yeah, John, so good to have you. Of course, John is one of those people who I end up seeing 3-4 times a year, it seems like, in Michigan, it will be in
Chattanooga
coming up. We're gonna, and we've seen each other at I think 2 or 3 different fully charged events now. It's a lot of fun. All right, well, with that said, FSD, a lot of news. Give it to me. First of all, the new news on FSD. Sum it up in 3 words.
Oh gosh, got to give you a little bit of a
some thumbnail candies. What I
need. There we go. It's coming soon.
We'll see if that makes the cut. I ABC test thumbnails if you guys see it and think
really?
why do these thumbnails keep changing? It's changed based on which one you clicked. I hated this one so much that I clicked on it. That doesn't train the system correctly. So 10-15 years ago, we saw dozens, hundreds of companies all saying, we're going to do AI, or we're not AI, we're going to do self-driving, and we're going to put the correct cameras and sensors based on what we think is going to work. And now we're going to hand code it. That's heuristics. That didn't work. That turned out to be a dead end. Why?
Well, heuristics are, this is what people would call traditional code. And if you're of a certain age, of course, when you grew up coding, and of a certain age, I mean, basically anybody before 5 years ago or so, but essentially you would just type in, if this, then do that, right? If you see stop sign, then stop. That seems simple, right? The problem is, first of all, how do you know what the hell a stop sign is from all the different video angles and everything you can get? Second of all, what about if the stop sign is an implied stop sign that's on the ground versus in the air, right? In a parking lot, those are kind of implied stop signs. But so basically you can just take this and you can start going like, if this, then that, if this, then that, if this, then that, if this, you could get to hundreds of thousands of if then statements for a stop sign to get all those corner cases. And then you have to go to red lights and you have to go to like not running into the curb and not hitting the people and not hitting the bicycle. The code just explodes, right? It can completely explode. And so heuristics is just not ultimately the answer. People thought that they could get there because they didn't realize how complicated the problem was. But as we all know, living in the world is all corner cases. The other day I was driving down the road and a trash can just blew over because it was windy and just right in the road, right in front of me. One of those big plastic trash cans. And I was like, well, never seen that before, where it just blows over. So, there's another edge case. So what you need is a universal function approximator, which is what neural networks are. So they're theoretically capable of modeling any function, in other words, any mathematical description of reality, which ultimately, even if we don't know what the equation is, we can actually go like, well, yeah, math would describe the way the wind blew that thing over at that particular time, all that stuff, right? So because it can do that, it hypothetically can figure this stuff out. The problem is that required massive retooling of everything, including collecting insane amounts of data, number one. And then, of course, trying all the different ways to do it. Like, okay, well, do we do it this way and this way and this way? And this is what Tesla's been working on for the better part of a decade, is like, okay, how do we do all this stuff? How much heuristic code do we need? Finally, they were just like, well, the solution is have all the data and just shove it into, it's not one monolithic neural network. It's a bunch of them kind of connected together, as far as I understand it. Again, they've been a little bit cagey about that lately, but the last public information was it's a bunch of neural networks plugged together. But whatever, it just goes end to end. You get photons in, you get steering, direction, gas, or accelerator pedal, all that kind of stuff out. So you get in out And in between, all neural networks all the way down.
If you're trying to code using if-then statements,
Yeah.
you will make a lot of artificial progress early on because you'll have a little test track and you'll master your test track. You go,
Exactly.
great, now let's try a slightly bigger one. Let's try
Right.
a few obstacles. The code's already getting kind of bulky.
Mhm.
And then, I mean, it's reasonable to assume a Waymo has never seen a moose. They don't test in
true.
places
Yeah.
where Mises exist. And I've seen people complain, oh, look at this dumb Tesla display. It shows this passing freight train as a bunch of semis.
Right.
No, what it shows it as is a large moving obstacle.
Exactly.
Don't hit it. I don't care
Yeah.
if it's a semi or a train. That part doesn't matter.
And we're also talking about visualization at that point, which is just output. That's just information for us. That really doesn't have to do with what the neural network. It may actually know it's a train. It just may not have a train like thing that you could put there graphically to show it. So
And it really doesn't matter all that much.
No. It's like, don't hit this thing. Whatever it is, don't hit it.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've seen examples of like trailers being misinterpreted as other kinds of vehicles. It doesn't matter. Don't hit it.
Right.
So we are hearing that in June, we're going to have unsupervised rides in at least Austin, maybe some other cities as well. Let's say that in June, this is solved. And they say, look, it actually can be, it's done. It's done. We're waiting for approvals, but it is done. It is on your car. It works. What does Cortex work on then?
Well, first of all, let's just back this up, because if they actually do get this working in Austin, that is monumental. I mean, this is a complete validation of what their methodology is. You know, everyone said, oh, no, they're far behind in these other companies like Waymo and stuff for doing this right. Tesla can scale this solution. Waymo cannot. They have to like go and remap every city they're going to do in and test it and all that stuff. Very, very slow rollout. If Tesla can do this and prove it and get regulatory approval, it scales up really fast. Also, Austin, you know, it has those weird Texas U-turns. It's got there's some complexity there. So it's not, you know, there's places like, if you really want an easy job, go to a place like in Arizona or something where it's just like big, giant square roads, you know, in a valley and in really nice weather all the time. So they're, you know, they're challenging themselves by putting it in Austin. So I don't think we want to underplay the importance of them saying that they can do this by June. That is remarkable and amazing. And yeah,
to me, it feels like one of those goals where if you miss it by even quite a bit, it's still amazing news.
Yeah.
I just hope it's not, you know, 2 weeks or end of next year like we've been hearing for 10 years. Those are a little more frustrating. So with Cortex being as powerful as it is and still continuing to scale, if it's solved, I assume they'll dedicate a tremendous resource to adding an additional 9 and then another 9 on that. But at some point, the returns are diminishing. What will Cortex work on then?
Well, we don't forget about our little two-legged friends, Optimus, that we need Optimus to, that's going to need a ton of training because it doesn't have nearly as much data. So it's beginning the flywheel, right? And so they know what to do now. It's now a question of getting that stuff all moving. And Cortex, it's not just the training. It's got to keep collecting the data, right? So there's a lot of processing. You don't just like take it in and use all of it. You have to go like, oh, this is a weird case that's never happened in 1 billion plus miles. We better suck that one in. You know, so it takes a lot of processing to like keep up with that stuff and to keep training those 9s. So it's not just doing training runs. It's also pulling in the data, processing the data, you know, distilling models. We could talk about hardware 3, but you know, like getting the big models and distilling them into smaller models and things like that. So there's a lot of work for it to do. I don't think it's going to be sitting there idle and twiddling its thumbs anytime soon.
It definitely won't. I wasn't supposing that it would do that.
Right.
Supposing, another word from the script that I've never used before, but I've had to say it a bunch of times. So now it's stuck in my head. And a question for the audience, is supposing a word that's like an East Coast thing? Because it's in the script so many times. 12 angry jurors, I guess we're calling it. I would also call it, one of my viewers suggested, since it's a mixed gender cast, we should have called it the Angry 12. But I think the dodec heads of jurisprudence has a better ring to it. I'm just thinking out loud. I think we've gotten off topic a bit.
Don't make me cough, man.
In the other thing with Optimus for training is a car has kind of one role,
Which is
and
don't
Optimus
hit things. Yeah.
get A to B, don't hit.
Yeah.
Optimus has tasks,
Mm-hmm.
and that I think will afford Cortex more opportunity to stretch its legs.
Mm-hmm.
So we mentioned AI 3, hardware 3 may not be sufficient.
Right.
AI 4 appears to be. If AI 4 is sufficient, why are we working on AI 5?
Because you can always add another 9. Let's
So you can always
say
add, yeah.
this becomes 99.999%. No problems. There's still, that 0.1% or whatever. That's a lot when you're driving billions of miles a year. So if you can add another one and you can reduce that from 1 billion to 100 million, and then another one to reduce that to 10 million, you're going to keep doing this forever. It's a journey, not a destination. There's never 100%. You can't get to 100%. So
No.
Yeah.
Well, a tree will fall in front of you without enough time to
Exactly.
stop.
Exactly.
Someone was saying, "Oh, I wouldn't trust FSD because Justin, the bearded Tesla guy, hit a deer," and I
Right.
said, "Have you never seen how
Yeah.
deer move? They appear out of they just materialize.
I
move very
did it
quickly.
myself, and I was driving as a human driver many years ago. We were driving down a Wisconsin road with really deep ditches in the pit dark of night, and this thing just literally, I mean, it was just like, there it was. It was like right in front of the car, just leapt out of the ditch.
Well, and I get that, sure, you've hit a deer, but I've been saying to ban full John driving for years.
Yeah, I need to be banned. I'm
Meat
just saying,
makes
when you have that kind of circumstance, there's literally nothing you can do. I mean, you'd have to have, the reaction time wouldn't matter. The physics of the car moving at 55 miles an hour dictate that you can't stop that fast.
No.
So,
and deer are very quick, and they change directions on a dime. And deer will continue to get hit. That's why some places have put in overpasses just for wildlife.
Yep.
Because it works. So if once AI 5 is definitely more than good enough, after that, we just start getting lower power drain, more efficiency, just the usual kinds of chip developments. My question on this is, would it be possible? We've seen Tesla pivot 2 or 3 times pretty hard on how FSD is being coded. Is it possible that we will see them complete it with the current setup and in the background start working on something just completely radically different that might be a moonshot that would be vastly lighter, better, simpler, something like that?
Okay, now this is obviously speculation. I do not foresee that happening. I think what they will definitely do is refactor the code, try to make it, like you were saying, lighter and simpler, but I don't think they're not going to go like, oh, forget about these neural networks. Let's go to heuristics 2.0 and try that. That's just not good. I think they have found the solution and they're like, yeah, this is good. This works. Now, will they refine it? Will they optimize it? Of course. That's part of what they'll have to do.
I love it. I love it. Guys, what did you think of this conversation? Did you have any comments? Please leave them comments in the comments below. It is, unfortunately, and I know I've been asked to mention this earlier, mandatory for a limited time. It's in a temporary emergency order just until everything returns to normal. I don't think that's a thing anymore. Guys, head on over to Dr. Know-It-All's channel, see what he's up to. He's always got fantastic insights. He knows a whole lot about a whole lot, and that's why he's here today. So guys, show him some love. I don't know. And everybody else, like, subscribe. If you want to throw me a buck here or there, there's a bunch of ways listed on the screen. All that's appreciated. And everybody else, stay tuned, stay juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots when we all develop our own intelligence. I'm waiting.